Hello and welcome back to your mat, and welcome to sunny Florida. So we finally landed here yesterday and it is a beautiful sunny 80-degree day, hence why we love traveling full time, because we get to escape the winter. So for those of you that are in the cold, I'm sorry. Here's your little breath of sunshine and warmth via video. So for today's class, we're going to do what I'm entitling a tension relief class. So this time of year is the holidays and the end of year stuff and the family and all the things. And sometimes that can cause us tension, sometimes it's joy, sometimes both. So we're going to do just a quick little tension relief class, move our body a bit, and we'll see how it goes. So for today's class, I do have two props for the very last pose, but if you don't have blocks, then you can do it without the blocks. I'll show you a modification. But otherwise, if you have two blocks, go ahead and grab those. And we'll get started with a quote. Let's see. This quote is by John O. Donahue. I would love to live life like a river flows, carried by the surprise of its own unfolding. So let's just enjoy today's practice, leave the tension at the door for a minute, and we'll get started. And if I didn't mention, I am filming from Inverness, Florida. So I did say Florida, but that's a big state. So we're actually in the town of Inverness. All right, so we'll get started with child's pose. So you guys go ahead and come in the child's pose, your version of that. You can sit back on your heels, you can have your seat higher up, you can have your forehead on the mat, you can stay more upright. I'm gonna stay upright so I can talk for a moment while you arrive in this pose. And I'll sort of help with the mic here. So just arrive for a moment. And child's pose is such a nice, restful, release the tension pose. So let's just come into this pose, and I want you to think about throughout today's class, letting go of tension, because as we end of the year, there's a lot of craziness going on. We all have these projects we're trying to finish up, and we've got holidays and family and travel plans and visiting and all of those things. Make sure you're breathing here in this pose. So this is a really good time to let go into that winter energy, and the winter is ruled by the water element according to Chinese medicine. And so really rest and hibernation are a key for this time of year. And then honestly, what are we doing? We're running around like crazy people, but this is part of it. So if you can find a little rest and relaxation over this winter time, even during the holidays, get a couple moments here and there just to let go into that winter energy of letting go, resting. We're going to come on up to all fours. And from here, I would like for you to just do your version of cat-cow, so whatever that looks like for you. Inhales and exhales, rounding in, inhale, and arching that lower back. You can also move more fluidly if you'd like, whatever feels good for you today. So you could move around in any way that feels good. We're just warming the body up here before we go into just a couple of poses, a little movement. And then come back to neutral spine and go ahead and tuck those back toes. And we're going to lift up into a downward dog. So go ahead and pedal out those feet if you need to. Open up the calves a bit. Give them a nice stretch. I'm going to stay here for a few breaths. Just really coming into this pose. This is such a great pose you can do anytime. If you only have a couple minutes, pop into a down dog real quick and pedal out the legs. It's amazing what all this can do for you. It's a great pose. And then from here, settle in for a moment. If you have straight legs or bent legs or whatever you have, it's fine. Wide leg, down dog, you can have your feet together, whatever feels good for you. And then we're going to step that left foot forward and drop the back knee and come into a low lunge. So initially, I want you to go ahead and sink deep into that front hip there and really come into a nice deep knee here. Make your knee is deep here on a deep bend. And then we're going to come upright. And I want you to place your left hand on your left knee. And we're going to do a side bend over to the left. So bring that right arm up overhead. And then just side bend over to the left. And breathe here for a couple of breaths. So we're more upright here, but we're also getting a nice side bend here. We're getting an opening. It's all of the things. So a lot of times we can hold some tension in here because we can be closed up from sitting or traveling too much. So we're going to really just open that side body, come back up, release that. And then from here, I want you to go ahead and wiggle this left foot over a bit more, and we're going to come into kind of a lazy lizard. We're not going to go into a full lizard pose because we're not really super warmed up for this. But both of my hands are on the inside of that left foot. And now I'm really deeply bending. And you can even turn that left foot out to the side if you like at a 45-degree angle. Stay upright on your fingertips. If you are really feeling it and you're really flexible and you feel warmed up enough, you can bring the forearms down. You could even grab your block and bring your forearms to blocks if you'd like, or just stay more upright. So we're just going to stay here for just a moment and open up into this lizard. Now you may be thinking, well, you said this class was about releasing tension, and I feel like this pose is causing tension. It is an intense pose, but it's also in the tension, it's releasing tension too, if that makes any kind of sense. And if it doesn't, let that go and just come into this pose and try to let go a little bit. So we're kind of getting in there and working a little bit to kind of release some of that tension, even though this is in its own right causing some tension itself. We're not going to stay here very long. These are not going to be long held poses. And then go ahead and step that left knee back, tuck your toes in and come into downward dog and pedal out really well here. So between sides, we're going to give a nice rinse here. So we're going to take our time. We're not going to be rushed to go to the other side. You know, we're rushing to and fro to get things done before the end of the year, before holidays, before parties, before all of that. But in this pose, I want you to not rush. We're not going to rush to the other side, even though you may be just ready to go. Pedal out those legs and then sink into this pose for just a moment, breathing. Open your mouth and let it sigh it out, let it go. And then go ahead and step that right foot forward, drop that back knee. Come forward for a moment there. I'm untucking my back toes. You can leave them tucked if you like. That's up to you. And then go ahead and come more upright. Place your right hand on your right knee. Left arm up, and now we're going to side bend to the right. So you should really feel a nice opening all along that left side. We're staying more upright here. You're also probably getting a little bit of a quad stretch there because we're more upright. We all feel this in different places, so if you don't feel it right where I'm describing, it's okay. Just notice where you feel it and breathe here for a couple of rounds of breath before we're going to go into the lizard on the other side. And then go ahead and bring yourself back up. Wiggle that right leg, right foot out to the side. I've got my right foot at a 45-degree angle, and then really kind of sink deep here. Sink in really deep. You can, again, stay upright on your hands. You can come on your forearms. You can use the blocks. We have all kinds of options here. Do what serves you best today. So it's not about, oh, I really want to get all the way down. If you're not really super warm right now, it might be better to stay more upright. You're still going to get the benefits of the pose. You're going to release some tension. You're going to feel this. This is definitely a pose that most all of us feel in one way or the other. Stay for another breath. And then go ahead and release that right leg back. Come into another down dog, the last down dog for this class. Really stretch it out. Pedal out the legs if you need to. And then just come into it for a moment and breathe here for a few rounds. Sign out of the mouth if you like. And then drop your knees. And now we're going to come into a easy seated twist. So when I say easy seated, we're going to come to an easy seat. So that is your cross-legged seat. So I'm going to have my right shin in front to begin with. Doesn't matter. You can always switch it out. So if you have the left, that's fine too. It doesn't really matter here. Inhale, get tall. And I'm going to exhale. I'm going to twist to my right, looking behind me, over my shoulder there. In my case, I'm looking back at greenery, and I just left some states where I went through Kentucky and North Carolina, where it was not quite so green. They were most of the leaves had been gone, or had fallen, and it was starting to get into that winter mode. So it's nice to see some greenery again here in Florida. Exhale and come back to center. Uncross your legs, cross them the other way, so whichever way you want. My left shin is in front. And exhale and twist to the left. Looking over that left shoulder and letting go of any tension that you may have there in your lower back, in your spine. I can't guarantee this class can get rid of all of your tension. That would probably require a longer class. But at least if we can just take a little bit of time to work through some of that tension and support our water element. And I will warn you, I don't know if you can hear this, but there is some airboats off in the distance. So hopefully they're not going to overtake my video, at least sound-wise. All right, we're going to come back to center. We're going to come into a wide-legged seated forward fold. So go ahead and bring your legs out as wide as you like to on your mat. Whatever feels best for you here. You can have them closer together if you like. Inhale, and we're just going to exhale and fold forward. So we're working through our water meridians here. The kidney meridian actually is the one that we're working through if you're interested, according to Chinese medicine. So the water element is a big one. It's the one that we really want to support in the winter. You want to support all of the elements year round, but the water element especially is the one that kind of rules the winter time. The fluidity of the water, they're all important. All of our elements in the body are all important, but it's nice to support this one. And if we can flow with life like water, releasing rigidity or tension, we get very rigid in our lives. Let go into the quiet energy of winter. Once December is over for most of us, then we are able to do that a little bit easier. But go ahead and set yourself up for what's coming in the wintertime. And come all the way back up. And we're going to end in a supported fish pose for those who have blocks. And for those who don't, I'll show you then another option. So if you have blocks, just going to set them up. I've got mine on my medium height. You can have them both on the lower height. You can play around with this, see what's going to work best for you. You could even have this middle block on the lower and the other one on the upper. So if you've got the blocks, you're just going to lie yourself back over these. So this is coming right around my shoulder. This bottom block is coming right around my shoulder blades. And then the back block is going to come right at the base of my skull. So my neck should be hanging free here, and then my arms will go out to the sides. This is supported fish. We're opening up the chest. So if you have the blocks, go ahead and get into that. If you do not have blocks, or that doesn't work for you for any reason, you're going to come into a very similar pose, but you're just going to come in lying down on the mat, and you're going to come into reclined bound angle pose. So you're going to have your soles of your feet together and touching, and you're going to lie back onto your mat flat out here. You're still going to be opening your chest. You're just not going to have quite that opening that the fish pose people will have. So whatever you want to go with, pick one here. I'm going to walk you through the end of this class, but you go ahead and stay in whichever pose that you've picked. And I want you to take some nice deep breaths here. And this is the pose that I really want you, again, to just let go. Let go of the to-do list. It's going to be there after you're done. It's going to be there next week. We all have to-do lists. They seem to be never ending, but for just a few moments, I want you to let go of all the things that you need to do. And try to remind yourself that the winter time, if you look at nature, it goes dormant, unless you're in Florida, and that's an exception here. But if you're in the more northern states where you go through an actual winter, things become dormant. Things retreat in. Animals hibernate. And we need to be a little bit more like nature if we can, to remember you have to have that rest. We go all the time. Sometimes we need that little rest. So let's just take that moment here. I want you to take a couple of deep breaths. This is going to be also serve as your Shavasana. So close your eyes and just breathe here. I'm going to leave you here for another moment, and then I'll bring you out. And obviously, for those who want to stay longer, you can ignore me when we get to that point. Just breathe here. For those of you that have extra time, I would love for you to stay here longer. For those that do need to get back into doing whatever you have scheduled for the day, go ahead and come out of the pose, whatever works for you, depending on which pose you're in. You could hug your knees in, you could remove the blocks, roll over to one side, and come back up to a seat. Thank you for taking the time to take care of yourself. Thank you for joining me, and until next time.